Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Worldwide Knicks podcast. Back at full strength this week. Omar, Rafa, Alex, how are you guys doing on this fine Sunday evening?
Terrible, Omar. Thank you for asking. Yeah. I was thinking earlier. You always try and talk us out of doing post-game pods,
Yeah.
and I'm really glad you do, because if we tried to do a pod yesterday, it would have been like a five-parter KFS style, I think, with me just ranting
Just
on.
ranting crazy. Yeah.
I'm not usually an angry person, but I was very angry yesterday. You might have noticed that in the group chat, but
So,
I
like,
was
Rafa was the smart one. He was at a
yeah.
Benfica game and didn't need to endure this torture yesterday.
Yeah, I was like watching the game at halftime. Oh, let's see how's the Knicks. Let me look at the Knicks. This might be a close game, yeah. Because I tweeted it. I was like, the game was halftime, and I started watching a bit of the game on the phone, and it's like, I definitely made the right choice not staying home for this game. I saw it. I say, yeah, this one sucks. This one is a loss. Let's roll. I actually was between water and wine again. So, but I stick with water because I'm still a bit positive.
He
As
had the
well,
Jesus
like,
dilemma, he had the Jesus dilemma. Do I turn to water? Do I turn to wine this time? And
yeah.
um,
These early
Thank
games
you.
as well for us, Omar, they like when you win, that's great and everything, you can enjoy it. But see, when you lose, it's
ruins your
like
night.
normally when like me and Rafa anyway are watching a game and it's like 2, 3 in the morning, and you're getting, it's a terrible game. The team's playing terrible. You're so tired and half drunk, and you get slipping in and out of consciousness, and you're just like,
Wow.
oh, well, whatever, I'll just go to bed.
Mhm.
But then, these early games, you've got the energy to get annoyed about it. So,
But
Yeah, it's a
I
gift
will
and a
take
curse for you guys. That's kind of what that is.
yeah, I will take the L for this one because
yeah.
every game I drunk the same type of beverage. The Knicks won, and obviously last night I didn't, and so we got blown out. So I take the L. I will continue drinking for the rest of the series.
Good
It's
stuff.
it's
Rafa put
it's the drink
making the
and penis,
necessary
man.
sacrifices over there, in Portugal. So good stuff there. Let's dive in, guys. So since we last spoke, Knicks have won a game and they've lost a game. So they win at the Garden against the Heat in a game that did not feature Jimmy Butler. That was probably a little closer than it should have been. That was the Gabe Vincent coming out party, right? And then yesterday we had the debacle against Miami in South Beach with a 19-point, 105-86 loss. And it's put the Knicks in a little bit of a must-win situation next game. You don't want to go down 3-1 heading back to New York. So what's caused this, we kind of alluded to how bad the game was. I think the game was so bad that a lot of Knicks fans are like, well, it's been a fun season. This series is over, while down 2-1. So I guess, Alex, do you think that the series is indeed over?
No, I mean, definitely not. I mean, I'm obviously somebody that understands things like percentages and probability and things like
Right.
that. But still, I find it fascinating, even just as a sports fan, the psychology of the series score, and the fact that if we win the next one, suddenly we're back to being the favorites again. Do you know? It's like just that one difference of whether you're down 3-1 or you're 2-2. Do you know? It's just like it's just one game, but the difference in that result just psychologically is incredible. And stats wise, how many people come back from 1-3 and things like that. So it's I don't think game three was had as much importance, but you're right. If we'd won it, we would have been real favourites, but we lost it, and now game four is absolutely a must win. So but it would be very Knicksian to win tomorrow night and then lose game five. So at home after we've got the momentum back. So it's so hard to predict these series, especially with all the injuries and things going down. So I think, yeah, we just have to focus on winning Game 4, and that's look no further than that. So
we're 2-1, but losing Game 3 like this, especially after not blowing them out without Jimmy Butler, I understand that it's not the greatest feeling. I don't have the greatest feeling going into the rest of the series right now, because we played 3 games against Miami. We had one okay game, which we won. The others have been kind of, especially this Game 3, is kind of a stinker. So I understand that
And
it's
that
like,
first quarter of
it is
Game 1, though, man, we'll always have that, you know.
cherish that.
Yeah, cherish that.
Yeah, we were trash. We were absolutely god awful last night. I pained myself through it. I watched most of the game, just fast forwarding a lot of bits of the game. I, I was making a lot of oof. Oh my god! I'm like, yeah, glad I didn't see this live. I'm glad this wasn't a 3 a.m. game. I'm glad I didn't stay home at 8:30 here to watch the game. I'm glad, especially because Benfica won, so got that
I
going
meant to
for me.
ask you because we were so engrossed in talking about the Knicks. I'm like, man, you went to the game. Did Benfica actually win? You know, and at least you got to see
They
one
did,
team
they
win.
did.
You know,
Yeah.
which is great. You know,
That's why I have the water.
yeah.
So there
Oh,
was
okay, not the wine, right? Because yeah, okay, I totally get you now. You know what's funny, guys? I look at this series the way it's folding out or playing out, excuse me, and you basically have two schools of Knicks fans. You have one who are saying, no one predicted us to get here. We were supposed to be a play-in team, and we are exceeding all expectations. But then you have the other things, like once it became clear that we were getting Miami and not Milwaukee, the expectation shifted into making the conference final because on paper we have a better roster. And it's I find myself kind of struggling on where to be, because like normally I'd just be, hey, we weren't supposed to be here. Lucky enough we won a playoff series. Like, who are we? But also, like, I'm looking at this Heat team, man, and it's just like, yes, you have Jimmy Butler. Yes, you have Bam Adebayo, who's been okay this series. He hasn't been great, but Jimmy obviously has been amazing this whole playoff. And you're looking like Max Strus is like getting open for layups. Gabe Vincent's knocking down threes. Duncan Robinson has made an appearance all of a sudden. He's been like in and out of the rotation all year for that team. And Kevin Love is sending these 3/4 court passes and making plays, and you're just looking, it's like, man, like, we should beat these guys. You can't help but think that. And they got playoff experience, hard to deny that. Love has won a championship. Bam and Jimmy went to a finals together in the bubble. You can't discount that experience because they have a bunch of it up and down that roster. And I think that's really what's starting to show. But is the series over? I don't think it's over. I mean, again, you're down 2-1. There's still games to play. It's not like you're down 3-0. Okay. And you get, like you said, Alex, you win one game, the whole narrative and the whole vision of the series shifts if you're tied 2-2 going back to MSG. But I'm not gonna lie, guys, doesn't feel great right now, right? Like, it's a thing where the team has not looked good. You're not making shots. There's a bunch of defensive lapses. The effort defensively, especially yesterday, was not there from a lot of players. And you're starting to see, like, maybe we've kind of hit that wall, and we're just not good enough to get past this team. Those thoughts start kind of creeping in. And so but the reality is the reality. We're down 2-1. And Game 4 is an absolute must win. If you don't win this, I mean, then you could fairly say series is likely over. But I do kind of want to get into kind of like a rotation change that happened in this series that has been pretty hotly contested. So Josh Hart has been starting all 3 games of this series so far, and will likely start Game 4 over Quentin Grimes, who was starting the entire bulk of the regular season and up until he got injured in the Cleveland series. So do you guys think that they should just go back to Grimes starting from a shooting perspective, or do you just ride it out with Josh Hart?
No, I definitely think we should go back to Grimes, and Hart can still play big minutes from his sixth man role, and especially if Quickley's a doubt as well, we're going to need him with the second unit, I think. So, I mean, even going back to the Cavs series, I said in the pod, I thought Grimes is going to be, one of the most important players in the playoff series. So I expected a lot more from him, but he's obviously been in the Cavs series as well, been used primarily just as a defensive stopper, and he's getting very few shots, and I didn't quite see it panning out that way. I thought, with the defense he's focused on Brunson and Randall, I thought, he was going to get a lot of open looks, but just the way the system's worked out, it's just not happened like that, and he's obviously had injury concerns as well. So yeah, I've been really disappointed from that side of things, but I think even just from a spacing side of things, and he can slow Jimmy down as well. I don't think Hart's the only player in the roster that can do that. I think, I think we should stop worrying so much about just stopping Jimmy at all costs, because it's clearly didn't work in a couple of the games. So I think yeah, definitely should go back to what the system and what the roster's been used to throughout the season. So we've had that very set rotation for a while. So, and it was working so well with Hart off the bench. So why not? And the key part to it is that Hart's going to end up in the closing lineups. I'd just like to see start a lot better. It was one of the things throughout the season that got us so many wins was we started games so well, and we've kind of gone away from that now, and it just the start of game 3 was just abysmal. It was absolutely shocking. So I think we need to go back to what we're used to, and certainly get more of a threat from three. He is technically probably our best 3-point shooter, and we just need to find somebody that can hit a shot right now. So
Yeah, I agree with that. It's should go back to Grimes in the starting lineup. Especially, I think I mentioned this last week. At that second unit with the guys, Hartenstein is the oldest on that team, on that second unit, and it's like it kind of shows how green they can be, and they need that extra. Not like Josh Hart is a veteran, but he's a different type of player. He's a more well-rounded, not well-rounded, but more savvy player to be out there to guide the young guys, especially on defense and motivating them. So I like that role he has on the second unit. I always like I liked it all after the trade. So Grimes should just go back to the starting lineup if he's able to do so. I don't know if it's a bit of minutes limitations as well because of the shoulder. But if not, if he's good to go, if he's 100% or 95%, he should start and just let Josh Hart come off the bench. I mean, Jimmy is playing almost every minute as well, so he will be able to. And it's not like Josh Hart is stopping Butler completely. We've seen that. We've seen now that it's not quite possible to stop playoff Jimmy. You can always only contain him. It's like if you can adjust a bit. If Josh Hart, Grimes, if Randall, if needed, a bigger body at point, RJ. I mean, we can shift around if needed. It doesn't have to be Josh Hart 100% of the time. If that helps that second unit a lot more to be productive, because that second unit has been terrible all playoffs long. Basically, they've been so helpful. That game 3, even that game 2, when the second quarter, Quickley and Obi were kind of rough. So if that having Josh Hart there helps them, please do that, because like Alex said, Josh Hart will probably close out the game. So just let's let them start a little bit later.
It was supposed to be one of the strengths of the team, wasn't it? You know, coming into certainly this series as well was that bench unit. So
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? The Miami's bench has severely outplayed our bench, and I think the big reason for that is because Hart isn't there. And like this was the case a couple of years ago with Derrick Rose, you know, where he kind of anchored that bench unit, and now like you take Hart off of that bench unit, and then they're kind of lost. And you know those minutes have been terrible for us this series, and you know, yeah, if Grimes is healthy enough to go, you should throw him back in the starting lineup. One, for that reason. Two, from a spacing perspective, because after that first half or first quarter in game one, Spoelstra's like, "Oh, I'm going to implement more zone, and dare them to make threes." And guess what? They haven't made threes. So you throw in Grimes in that starting unit, who's a better 3-point shooter than Josh Hart. Period. I mean, Josh Hart lost a 3-point shooting contest to JJ Redick's kid recently. So, you know, that's, I don't know if you guys saw that, but
no,
but you know,
thankfully.
like Quentin Grimes, like he gives them the threat, you know, that he can hit those shots. Whereas I think they aren't really respecting Josh Hart's ability to hit that shot. And you know, so that could change the way that they approach defense. And, you know, it's like, do I think that Thibodeau's gonna do it? Probably not. I feel like he's kind of sold on this idea of Hart in the starting lineup right now, and you know he might just decide to live or die with that decision. And I mean, if the first three games are any indication, it more than likely going to die by that decision, you know, because like I said, it just hasn't been good. It hasn't looked good, and I think you need that shooter out there to be able to, you know, keep the defense thinking about that possibility, because you have three guys, and if you throw in Mitch Robinson there as well, four guys who like to operate in the paint. So, yeah, you're gonna need to free up that space somehow, some way. Yeah, because Josh Hart is just not going to be that perimeter threat that Grimes is going to be. I'm curious how many minutes they would play him, but you know, like you guys said, even if it's just like 15 to 20 minutes, that's something, and you could still have that closing lineup with Hart, but you still want to kind of get off to that good start. That's how this team has done well this year, is getting off to good starts in the first quarter and kind of setting the tone, and then kind of continuing that with Josh Hart later in the game. But yeah,
Sorry,
go ahead, Alex.
sorry, Omar. I was just thinking, you mentioned expectations earlier, and I think what we do need to respect is I mean, respect and Miami Heat aren't two words I usually put together, or three words. But you know, this is a team that, you know, last year was in the conference finals. It is a team that's, you know, regularly in the playoffs, obviously competing in the playoffs. It's a team that very obviously underachieved in the regular season this year. Shouldn't have been anywhere near the seventh seed, and they did have to deal with a lot of injuries. They've got we were talking about the bench unit there. I mean, they've got guys like, you know, Kevin Love and, you know, Kyle Lowry have been there and done it, won titles. They've got amazing experience coming off the bench, and they've obviously got a coach who, although in some bizarre way has never won the Coach of the Year award, is, you know, everybody pretty much agrees he's probably one of the best coaches in the league. So I think, talking about expectations for us, you know, as a team, still a young team, obviously very inexperienced team, coming up against guys like that. I don't think, as much as I was so angry yesterday, I think, you know, we can't beat ourselves up too much for being in this position. I'm sure if we said at the start of the year that, you know, we'd be in the second round and getting angry about, you know, not going up 2-1 against the Heat, you know, something like that, then, you know, from where we've come from last year, I think you know, it's still an excellent season no matter what happens in this series. So I think we do need to temper our frustrations a little bit.
Yeah, and the expectations, like I always felt weird, like after we beat the Cavs. How we beat the Cavs were unstoppable. The Heat beat the Bucks. Why were people talking about, oh, we're gonna smoke
Smashed
the
the
Heat
Bucks
now?
as well,
They
not just
beat the
beaten.
Bucks. Like
Yeah,
it wasn't 7 games. It was like we did
Yeah.
4-1 against the Bucks. The guys were going all the way. No excuses. They were going to the finals to face whoever in the Western Conference. Why would we think that we're the favorites in that series, in this series even? Like again, it's
It was bad, guys, when you had a bunch of national people saying, "Oh, the Knicks have a pretty clear path to the conference finals," and I was like, "Oh boy, here
the
we
voodoo,
go."
man, the voodoo, the voodoo.
It's bad juju there, national media people. Out here. You know what's funny? We'll still get clowned if we lose to this team in 5 or 6, because we're like, oh, it was right there for you, and you fumbled the bag. Classic Knicks. And I was like, no,
yeah,
Miami's actually playing incredibly good basketball. Like, you may
yeah.
not respect the names on the roster. Like, admittedly, I didn't, and but they have a chemistry there. They know what they can do, and they have a player. They have the best player in the series right now. No doubt about it. Jimmy Butler's the best player in this series.
The other amazing thing you mentioned that Buck series was the play-in performance where they absolutely did
Look
nothing against the
dead.
Hawks
Yeah.
and against the Bulls as well. I don't know if you
Mhm.
watched the Bulls game, but they were terrible in that game as well.
Yeah.
They just got over the line enough, just did enough. Yeah,
Their
so
run here, it has been so, I think, indicative of the parity in this year's playoff. Because there is no great team really.
no,
And if they end up making a run to the finals, um, that just puts a bow on what this season has been, which is just so unpredictable. In such a wide open field that I don't think we've seen honestly since the 70s.
yeah.
Because there is no dominant team.
Plus the Celtics and Sixers are beating each other up.
Yeah.
That could go 7. They could get to the conference finals and have a really good chance of getting past whoever comes out the other game. So yeah.
Look at us burying our own team already, by the
Oh,
way,
I know.
guys. Awesome
I know.
job. Let's shift gears though. I want to talk a little bit about IQ. Alex, you mentioned it already. He's doubtful for game 4 tomorrow. He has not looked good this playoff. You can take some positive from the defense in round 1, but especially here against Miami, he's kind of looked lost. So I guess, are we going to see Deuce McBride tomorrow, or do you think we have an even shorter rotation down to 8 guys?
Or Forney, who I don't know if you saw Ian Begley asked Tibbs about Forney earlier, and he said that nothing was off the table. I was like, oh my god.
Hey man, stay ready.
Yeah. So yeah,
Evan
hopefully,
Fournier, Derrick Rose.
yeah. Hopefully it's just to fill in some minutes at least. We saw against the Cavs where even coming in for 5 minutes and he does a job on Mitchell. So yeah, why not the same thing here on Butler or somebody like that. So
he does what we all wanted Frank Ntilikina to do. There, I said it. So
yeah, we can edit that one
Right
out.
now, that's not Deuce. In this series, this playoff run, that's Immanuel Quickley right now. Immanuel Quickley is playing at Frank Ntilikina level.
Nice.
I said it. It's ridiculous how he's been playing. Like he's just basically saying, yeah, the 6th man of the year was well delivered to Brogdon because I've been stinking it up in the playoffs. And to me, that's what we needed the most. We talked last weekend how RJ stepping up kind of cleaned up the mess of Manuel Quickley, but second unit has been so bad. There were a few games that Obi Toppin actually played decent, but he's, well, not great this series either. It's been really, really bad. We need Manuel Quickley to be the 6th man of the year candidate that he was throughout the season. There's no way that we can win without him. Well, obviously the big 3 play well. We got it, but Manuel Quickley needs to do better. He needs not to be Frank Ntilikina like.
I
please.
thought he looked better in game 4. He looked a wee bit more, his kind of energy was a lot better in game 4, a wee bit more like his usual self. And but yeah, the shots, the shots were falling. Just need that 3-point threat from him, because it's not coming from anywhere else. Him and Grimes just need to step up and start hitting some open shots. And yeah, if he's injured now, it could be the end of his series. So, because it is a sprained ankle from what I read. So, they said he's doubtful for game 4, but I would severely doubt if he's ready in time. So, because the games are coming back to 2 day, less of a break now. You've only got a full day in between. So, yeah, I mean, it could be that he's out for more than one. So.
It's like, on one hand, you should not want to have one of your key players get hurt, but he's just been so bad, and honestly, I would welcome like deuce minutes there just from a defensive perspective. And the way we've been shooting, I mean, I wouldn't be 100% opposed to Fournier minutes just because, he's always been a talented shooter, and
just put him on Duncan Robinson, like the two
hide
of
him that
them
way,
could just
right?
defend neither
My God.
each other.
A match for the ages, man.
It's like that Spider-Man meme, isn't it? Like,
oh yeah, there it is. Yeah. But one will be wearing a French flag and the other won't be. So that's the way that goes.
But I thought the 6th man of the year might light a fire under Quickley. Just that kind of disrespected
Burned
thing.
him.
But it seems to have gone the opposite way, which, yeah.
Not getting the award burned him. It destroyed him.
I kind of want to, we're talking about Quickley's injury. I do want to bring up something that I've seen a couple Knicks fans on Twitter insinuate, which is, Bam Adebayo is kind of in the mix on that injury as he was with Jalen Brunson, where it looked like he was stepping on his ankle. So obviously, Knick fans on Twitter are gonna go buck wild crazy. You think there's anything malicious there from Adebayo, or just much ado about nothing?
I think this is always going to go on in a kind of playoff game, a bit of back and forth like that, especially Knicks Heat, where there's a bit of extra, animosity. And yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones where you slow it right down. It doesn't look good, but
I don't think Bam's a dirty player.
There.
He doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think he plays on the edge, but that's
Right.
a difference. Like he's a fantastic player. I've really enjoyed watching him as best I can. He's just that kind of real aggressive player that just sometimes spills over. Like we see kind of Randall do a lot of things. You love Randall's aggressiveness, and then sometimes it just kind of spills over into slightly dirty plays and things like that. But yeah, I wouldn't expect him to do something like that. But yeah, it didn't look great. But possibly that's just, as I said, just because it's a super slow replay or whatever. So
I don't like it. That kind of approach. It's like the same thing that the Heat fans were saying because Josh Hart was a flopper, and so that's why he injured Jimmy Butler. Like, come on, it's like no.
How'd you injure
it
somebody
wasn't.
from flopping? That's a new one on me.
That's
It's I don't know. We should ask Kyle Lowry. He probably injured a few from all the flops.
Need to ask Dylan Brooks about that one. So
or that as well. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like even the foot one doesn't look good, but he's not. I don't think he's looking at Brunson either. Evans and the ball when we quickly he's diving for the ball. I mean, it's
that's
you
a
saw how many guys. If when you die, I mean, if when one is diving for the ball and the other isn't, there might be some contact, but you can't forbid someone from diving to the ball to get that ball and stop the fast break. So I don't mind those basketball plays at all.
I mean, we're talking about a playoffs here where we had Grant Williams get his head stomped in a game recently, again in a loose ball situation. It's just the playoffs, man. There's going to
Again,
be
yeah.
more physicality. They're going to allow more of it, and we've seen that in this series, and we've seen it across the league. That they're just going to let these guys play a little bit more. Let's go in kind of talk a little bit now about coaching. So you mentioned it earlier, Alex. Spoelstra is a great coach, and he's made defensive switches and offensive game plan adjustments that have really worked against the Knicks. And a lot of commentary has been around that he has just run laps around Thibodeau in this series. So one, I mean, do you think that's the case? And two, what if it is the case? What are we looking to see from Thibodeau moving forward for the rest of the series?
I wouldn't say he's been running laps around Thibodeau. I mean, he's a coach that makes a lot of adjustments during games, no matter whether it's the playoffs or not. I mean, he's just that kind of coach. Whereas Thibodeau is a wee bit more kind of stuck in his ways, and he's got his system, he's got his lineup, and if we keep just trotting the same lineup out, it's going to eventually going to work or click or whatever. It's two different mindsets really, and and as you said at the very start, it's these performances are not just down to coaching. There's a lot just down to guys just not hitting shots, and it's as simple as that. And if the guys do start hitting shots and they have to start sending defenders out there, then we can start sending Hartenstein and Mitch into the paint and start dominating in there, where they've only got really Bam in there to go up against. So it's it's kind of just so desperate to see a few of these shots go down early, just to get the guys a bit of confidence. And it's when these games start and we miss our first, say, three pointers or something like that, your kind of shoulders just kind of go, oh, like, here we go again, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it's as I say, when we do that, it's easy to game plan against the Knicks. They switch to zone, just let the guys shoot and pack the paint, and that takes Mitch out the game completely, pretty much. And it's obviously great coaching, but it's pretty straightforward decision to make. If we're not hitting shots, then he doesn't really need to do anything spectacular coaching wise. So it's pretty straightforward. So just let them shoot.
Yeah, it's like Alex, you've said it 2 weeks ago, and you've been saying it on the group chat. The scouting on the Knicks is not that deep. It's go zone, let him shoot threes, let them miss threes, and let's win this. That's what he's doing. And
Pack the paint, yeah.
what can Tibbs do to adjust to that? I mean, they need to hit their shots. I mean, I can imagine Tibbs and his having nightmares about not making a shot to save their lives. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Last night our starting lineup hit 4 shots. RJ Barrett and Josh Hart hit 2 of them, 2 each. I mean, and then maybe he can try and make him not don't settle for the 3. Try and get something else, something different, maybe a mid range, whatever. But that doesn't happen. Yeah, and they keep shooting. It's what they say, and getting runs around the laps around Tibbs. I don't think. What adjustments do you want Thibodeau to do? Like play Evan Fournier? That's the adjustment. I mean, we're talking about getting Grimes into the starting lineup, but Grimes isn't hitting shots as well. And if he keeps not hitting shots, the zone defense will come, and we will eventually lose again. So
I mean, I like a lot of our players on our roster, but there's a lot of players on our roster that are very one-dimensional.
Yeah,
and that type of player is much easier to defend and game plan against. That's
why it's a team game, right? Like I can do this. I can go inside. Please hit your shots from the outside. If you don't do that, you don't help me. Like RJ not hitting his shot, Randall Brunson not hitting a shot. Like it's the second game that Brunson goes 0 from 3. It was game 1, I think, or whatever. In now game 3, and we lost both of those games. So obviously I'm not blaming Brunson, but we need to hit those shots.
Yeah.
If we hit shots, okay, they need to stop with the backing the paint. So
You know, it's funny because like you can credit Spoelstra without having to diss Tibbs, right? Like you could just say, "Hey, Spoelstra's an awesome coach. He's made adjustments. He's exploited the Knicks' weakness as a team." And it doesn't have to be that he's just outcoached him, right? Because like to both you guys' point, like what more do you want him to do? Like we outside of throwing Grimes into the starting lineup and swapping him for Hart type thing. Um, it does bring up an interesting point that you mentioned, Alex, about sticking to what you want your identity to be, which is the Thibodeau way, and constantly adjusting, which is the Spoelstra way. It kind of reminds me of like an American football thing, which is, oh, you're going to run the ball, and if you don't run the ball, you have coaches who can say, well, we have to establish the run, and keep at it. Eventually it's going to work. Or you say, F that. Other coaches say, F that. I'm just going to go to the passing game. And it seems like Spoelstra's the passing game guy and Thibodeau's the stick to the running game guy. And neither one is wrong. The Thibodeau's looking at it from a perspective like, hey, I've won this way all year. Why wouldn't I win now kind of thing? And Spoelstra's looking at it from a thing or like, I got to be adjustable. I have a little bit of a talent deficit, especially as we get into like the bench players. And I think you're just seeing Spoelstra as being one of the best coaches that we have in the game today. And to your point, Alex, it's criminal that he's never won Coach of the Year, but also he really shines in the playoffs usually, right? That's kind of when you really see
yeah.
Spoelstra's genius, especially with a star player like Jimmy Butler over the past few years, who is basically on cruise control until he gets to the All-Star break, so yeah, I think, I don't know about you guys. I feel like I maybe underestimated just how great he was, in the playoff series because we haven't had to face him in the playoff series in many years, and it's yeah, he's put on a clinic, man. He's been a great coach, and I think he's won in the margins, and he's squeezed everything he can squeeze out of this team, and it's winning them games, and nothing but respect for that. You guys mentioned Knicks Film School earlier. They made another American football analogy where they're like, yeah, the Heat are kind of like the New England Patriots, which, like you never count them out for dead, regardless of how anemic their roster may look, that they always just find themselves in big games and big moments and coming through in those big games and big moments. So, I really don't have much negative to say about Spoelstra or Tibbs for that matter. I just think like it's just two different styles. I guess for you guys, would you prefer like which style do you like more? Do you like the I'm gonna adjust always, or are you more into the I'm gonna stick with what works guy?
I do as much as as much as I like Tibbs. Yeah, I do prefer a coach that's willing to adapt as the game goes on, and Tibbs does make adjustments. It's a myth that he's completely stuck in his ways, but his overriding principles are to go with what he knows works or he's seen work in the past, and as you said, there's nothing wrong with that, but there are times where you're just like, we need to be a little bit more creative than this. As Rafa pointed out, like when something's not working, don't just keep going again and again and again and again. It must be demoralizing. I think I mentioned the other day about like the fact that these guys that are out in the perimeter shooting open shots, and they can see the disrespect that the defense is giving them, and that must get in their head a little bit, and knowing that they're just sitting off them, and just as they're shooting that shot, they're just like, why am I being left wide open? That's in their head, rather than just shooting confidently.
If you're a player and you see that, like, make them respect you.
Mm-hmm.
Don't feel sorry for yourself, like oh, they're oh, they're doing this to me because I can't hit a shot. Maybe I shouldn't take it. No, make them respect you. Make them guard you. That's the way you need to do. You need to. I think this team does, and I think I felt a little bit watching it at game three. Is like when shots aren't falling, things aren't going 100% right. It feels like we fall apart. Players get the body language gets all over the place, and we don't play defense anymore. Like we get so down when the offense isn't flowing. And the offense hasn't been flowing perfectly through the whole entire playoffs. That's because
No.
Yeah,
the
it's the
shot hasn't
playoffs,
been
man.
there.
It's mucky, it's messy.
I mean,
Like it's not going to be perfect, you know.
No.
the shot hasn't fallen for even against the Cavs. We were beating the Cavs. Thing is, we were beating the Cavs not hitting shots because we were out hustling them.
Yeah.
We were out playing them out, but we were we were playing more than we wanted this more than the Cavs wanted, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm seeing is, I always thought that the Knicks and the Heat were toe to toe on that department, but maybe we aren't, because you were mentioning, Omar, how you kind of disrespected or you didn't think as highly of these players on the Heat. Everybody thought the same thing, so they all got chips on their shoulders to
Yeah.
show there's something else. So that motivates them as well. And it's we went too confident into this series, and game one we lost game one because we didn't have Randall. Oh, Randall's the savior. Randall had a pretty, well, like everyone else, had a pretty shit game last night. So who's the savior now? Maybe it's like we need to be better. We need to, especially mentally, we need to be able to overcome adversity, especially in the playoffs. That's why the win didn't feel as big. This loss is feels tremendous. We need a good game four from everyone to step up and to add up to Tibbs. How is this, like, for example, how is his fault that Quickley is playing terrible?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's nothing coach wise. Like, Quickley, do something different. No, like, Quickley, do what you did for 82 games.
Mm-hmm.
He can't. He's not able to do it, and we need that. The second unit needs it as well. Even with when he plays the minutes with the first unit, we need that ball handling, that shot falling, that creativity. The shot creation he has. He doesn't have it. Like, he loses that. He loses something. Keeps losing players. No, Grimes was injured. He's getting back. Randall was injured, getting back. Brunson is struggling. That affects the whole game plan as well. Like, I can't rely on these guys as much as heavily, or the guys won't execute as perfectly because, I mean, when you hurt, they're professional athletes, yeah, but when we're home and we hurt something, we will do things differently. That I know my leg hurts, so I won't push it as much. So 2 weeks ago or 1 week ago, Tibbs was the best coach, one of the best coaches in the NBA, and now
Funny how
he's
things
trashing it.
change, right? Like just literally in the Cavs series, like, oh, he's basically coached a perfect series. You know, we said that, people were saying that. And now it's just like, oh, this bum usher in the Shadi Bryant era. It just shows you how short the attention spans are of your average fan, right? And you know,
But
you
it's the vultures again, Omar. Sorry to interrupt. No, it's the vultures again. I keep
Go for it,
mentioning them.
Alex.
You know,
Go
but
for it.
it was the same. I saw them. I saw them with Rando again today as well. They're just
Yeah.
like taking them to pieces. You know, it doesn't take much. They're sit quietly in the shadows,
Just
and
waiting.
then
Yeah.
one game, one series, they just jump all over it. It's like suddenly they appear, and it's like, here we are.
We all know the vultures. RJ
Man.
vultures, Randall vultures, Tibbs vultures. It's amazing.
Yeah. No one's safe, man. You got Brunson vultures, they're everywhere, you know. So you know, you guys were talking about game four. We've mentioned it quite a few times throughout the podcast about being a must win. So this week, 2 games for sure, 3 games potentially. So tomorrow, game 4 in Miami. Wednesday, game 5 in New York, and if necessary, game 6 back in Miami on Friday. So I guess, what do you guys think is going to happen this week? Are the Heat going to close out in 5? Are the Knicks going to push it to 6 or push it to 7? What are we thinking?
I know this is a pretty obvious answer, but like obviously we've already said that game 4 is a must win. So if that is a if that is a win, then I can see it going 7. If it's a loss, I can just see them Miami winning out in 5. I think that's just such a pivotal game that I can't really see any other scenario. And again, I think injuries could just make the difference. There's so many players playing hurt right now that without having knowing what they're going to be like after game 4, I think I think that could turn the series. So I think we're so reliant on certain players in our roster, and that when they're hurt or they're out, I think it just makes such a difference. So I think our best hope is to keep everyone healthy and win that game 4. I think that's all it's gonna. I think that's our only shot at winning this series. So
Yeah, it's if we don't win tomorrow, I think we're down. I hope not in 5. And I say this because MSG doesn't deserve to see the Heat finishing us off. We fans don't deserve that for all the support and all the craziness surrounding the team. So I would I don't see us winning in 6. I see us winning in 7. If the season the series ends in 6, it's for the Heat. I think so.
Yeah.
So, but the game tomorrow, we need to come out strong. We need to be way better than we were in game 3. No player, every player in the roster wants to be better for tomorrow. Yeah, man, but it's going to be a battle again because the Heat are motivated. Like they've outplayed the Knicks in the 3 games we played so far, and but we need to show them game 4 that we can be better than this. Obviously, we can't be better than this because game 3 was shit. It was
Yeah.
shit.
I'm gonna agree with both of you here. I think game 4, obviously they have to win this game. So I'm gonna say they're gonna win it. Rafa, you and I last week were both kind of in agreement that this is going to be a 7-game series, and I think that's still the case. I think it goes to 7 at the Garden, and so to get there, they're going to have to win tomorrow, and hopefully, at the very least, win game 5 at the Garden, and if they drop game 6 to pick it and it goes to 7, I think that's kind of the way I would forecast it going. But I still think this is a 7-game series. I still think these teams are very, very much evenly matched. And I know Rafi said that they've outplayed us all 3 games, but with the exception of yesterday, like the first 2 games, they were kind of in it the whole way. Even for how bad they looked, right? And I think that's the indication is going to be a really good series. Real quick, guys, before we sign out here, obviously there's 3 other series going on around the NBA. Have any of these series kind of piqued your interest while you've been watching the Knicks, or not really?
yeah, I think the playoffs have been really good. In general, I don't think there's been that many really bad games. There's not been that many. Obviously, early in the series, the Kings Warriors was amazing. I think all the stories around about the Lakers Warriors, Steph v LeBron, and all these kind of things. That's a really interesting one as well. My pick from the start of the season, the Nuggets are looking really good as well. And they get obviously up against KD and
That's
Booker.
the series that I'm most interested in, Alex, mainly
Yeah.
because it's kind of like organic rebuild versus all-in move to trade a star. Like, who wins that series, right? How much does chemistry really matter? Denver, they've been playing together for multiple years now, especially that core of Jokic and Murray and MPJ. versus the Suns, who played like 12 games together before the playoffs with KD. It's kind of an
Plus,
interesting dynamic.
You can, I'd happily watch any game that Jokic plays in. He's just such a fun player to watch. And then you've got the, Philly Celtics, which would all the kind of history behind that. And, that's a heavyweight matchup as well. So, I think the playoffs have been great in general. So, and obviously having the Knicks in there, just usually at this time of year, you're on tankathon, just trying to kind of see where we're going to end up. And, just having the Knicks involved at this time of year is just,
guys, lottery's in 9 days, and we don't really care.
Yeah.
How great is that feeling, right?
Yeah, when we're out at this stage and you've got 8 other teams left, you're just kind of take a bit of a back seat in what, but because the Knicks are in there, you get invested in the other series as well. I think you just kind of get involved in the whole playoff experience.
I was looking forward to that Denver Phoenix series, and by the way, that the two matchups, the Lakers and the Grizzlies and the Golden State Warriors and
Kings,
the yeah, the Kings. If the Kings moved on to play the Lakers, historical battle as well. All the early 2000s, late battles between the two teams, with Shaq and everything, would be massive. And if it was obviously Grizzlies versus Golden State Warriors, I mean, Dylan Brooks shenanigans and everybody battling would be amazing. So, but Lakers, Golden State Warriors, obviously great. I was looking forward to that. Denver with Phoenix. I kind of got surprised with the Boston and Philly series. I was, especially with the Embiid being injured again. I was thinking, Harden, I don't know. Harden can do that alone. I don't think Harden has it anymore. Boy, was I mistaken.
Yeah,
Boy,
2 games
was I
has
mistaken.
been magnificent. Yeah.
That's the series. That's the series I want to see very, very badly now. Like this game 4 was something else as well. So yeah.
Great game
And
tonight.
so
And a great game from Harden again tonight. Dropped
absolutely.
42. Just looking like Houston Harden all over again, but better because he's such a better passer now, and which is crazy. He's how he's evolved. Well, it could be a situation that he's just trying to get that last payday, because he's unrestricted free agent this offseason. But hey, he's looked great, and that's a fun series. I mean, they're all fun series, which is great to see. So it was nice to watch some non-rooting interest basketball, outside of the Knicks stressville that we're all in right now. So,
by the way, this is the most classical thing from the playoffs. Chris Paul is injured. Classic Chris.
Every year.
Classic playoffs. Man. Classic Chris Paul playoffs. Classic. It's amazing. Always injured.
It's so unfortunate. So unfortunate because he's such a good player, right? And you want to see him at least have a chance to compete, and not be out for multiple games. And they just tipped off over there in Phoenix, so we'll see how they handle him. They could even up the series at 2-2. But that is going to wrap us up for another episode of the podcast. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at WW Knicks Podcast. If you like listening to us, make sure to subscribe on YouTube and turn on the notification icon to receive updates when we get update our new episodes. Make sure to subscribe to the channel on YouTube. If you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please subscribe there and leave us a rating and a review. On behalf of the guys, Omar here, Worldwide Knicks. Hopefully we're talking about a Game 7 next week and the Knicks continuing their season. But until then, go Knicks, and we will see you next week.